Alright, so if you're following along, you should have Power BI open. The name of the file should be something along keeping employees, and it already has the data connected. So these are the columns of the data set that we're working with, and we're trying to use this to figure out how we can lower left and why employees are leaving. So satisfaction level is just a number out of 1, where it determines their satisfaction level with the company. Last evaluation is what they score on their last evaluation. Number of projects they've worked on. Average monthly hours talks about just their average monthly hours. Time spent in company, that's in years. Work accident is 0 or 1. If it's 1, then they have had a work accident. Left is 1 if they've left, 0 if they've not left. Promotion over the last 5 years, 0 if they've not had a promotion, 1 if they have. Sales, this just refers to the part of the company that they're working at. So there's sales, technical, product management, IT, HR, etc. And then salary is low, medium, or high, referring to how much money they make. So when I am dealing with this data, I prefer to have something to let me know how many employees are leaving over the total number of employees. So I'm going to make a measure, so just new measure, and then do leftover total is equal to the sum of the employees that have left over a count of the employees that have left. There's not really an identifying column in this data set, so if it just counts HR, SEP left, that is just going to count every single row that there is within that column, so as opposed to counting distinct. Alright, and then let's make 2 cards. So this card, let's do the total number of employees that have left. Alright, and if you look, if you do sum left, boom, 3,571 have left. And then let's make another card, and in this one let's do the leftover total. Alright, and it's about 24. And I prefer for these to be like the same size, so I always do about 280 by 150. Alright, so awesome, we know how many employees have left and how many left compared to our total. So this is the number that's obviously more telling because we have a 25% turnover attrition, and that's pretty high. So let's make a matrix to see potentially where that could be coming from. So I love matrices. They're like pivot tables in Excel, and they're awesome. So I'm going to do leftover total is going to be our value. And then for rows, I want to do their satisfaction level. There it is. And I want that in columns actually. And then I want to group it because I don't want to see each separate satisfaction level. So I'm going to group it into groups of 0.1. Alright, so there, it's summed out a little better, right? And then for the rows, I want to see salary. Alright, so I'm just going to drag that over here, open this out, and then why don't we just make everything kind of a little bit bigger. So if we make values, and let's make values 12. And then I'm going to want to do that with the column headers. Let's also do 12. And the row headers also at the 12. Good deal. So we can see that as satisfaction level, just kind of on average, goes up, this number goes down. And one of the flaws of Power BI is getting these to sort in the right way. I've struggled with it, so I can't get it to be low, medium, high. I'm sure there's people brighter out there that can figure that out. I'm just not one of them. So we can see that people with a high salary have a very low attrition, a very low leftover total. The low salary, it's obviously a lot higher, and then the medium salary is that middle point. So if we wanted to see, for example, okay, what about our employees with a satisfaction level of about 30%? All right, 61 are leaving, 621 have left. So that filters the data according to like what you tap on. And then I like to see things in a graphical way. So I'm going to copy this and I want to make it into a line chart. And over here, I'm going to grab salary and put it in the legend. So we can perhaps just see that a little bit better, right? And see, obviously, that like falling line for some reason point to people with a 20% satisfaction didn't really leave the company, but I bet that's because there's not very many in that group. Anyway, so let's go on to build a chart, maybe looking at where people are working and where people are leaving. So let's do one of these funky little things, a funnel, and let's pull over the sales, and that's going to be the groups, and let's do a count of employees as the value. So not a sum, but we want a count. Ugh, I hate it when it does that 0.41k or 4.14k. It's data labels, display, none. There we go. That looks way better. And then let's do leftover total and the saturation. So you can see like the total number of employees, and then if we hover over it, that allows us to see like where employees are leaving the most places. Actually, let's switch these. Ugh. Okay, leftover total. So if you drag it to tooltips, that means when you hover over it, you'll see that number. But we don't really need to do that right now. So we can see now that we have like that number just flat out and like the width of these based on it. The lighter colors are the places with less employees. So management, there's only 630 employees, but there is still a leftover total of 14%. But as it says, percent of first, there's 54% of what the highest attrition is. So, or I guess not the highest, but the first one listed. Yeah, once again, kind of not a perfect thing, but still, in fact, I wonder if a pie chart would be, if we just do this, and we do a pie chart, it's a little bit more, kind of more interesting. I guess those percentages are all like the same. Anyway, there's just like a lot of different things you can do. So you can see where the employees are. To be honest, I think I like that better. Count of leftover total. Yeah. Cool stuff. Cool stuff that Power BI does for you. All right, and then let's look at how are we doing on time. All right, we have like 5 minutes. Let's look at how the average daily hours compare. And actually, let's do weekly. I think it has it as monthly. So I'm going to create a new column, and I'm going to call it average, weekly hours. So most employees work for about 40 hours a week. That's like full-time, right? And then part-time is about 20 hours a week. So if people are working 80 hours a week, they're obviously working a lot and that's asking a lot out of people. So let's do, that's equal to whatever average monthly hours divided by, assuming that there are 4 weeks in a month, therefore they're working 5 days. Actually, let's look at average daily hours. That way I don't have to do all that math. Well, I'm still, I guess, going to do math. But let's assume that they work 20 days in a month. And since they're all being divided by the same thing, it's still telling us data. In an ideal world, we would know exactly how many days they worked in that month, and therefore use that number instead of this random one I just assigned. So let's create a table, and we want average, not monthly hours, average daily hours by leftover total. Actually, let's do matrices. Average daily hours, let's put that in rows. And we want to group these. And let's group them by bins of 0.5. See how that shortens it. Okay, still pretty long table, so maybe we'll group it by ones. Alright, that shortened it up quite a bit. Let's make the text bigger. Do 12. And then average daily hours, so that's the row headers. And here. Oh wow, those are not going to be that big. Good deal. Alright, so we can see as average daily hours go up, so too does the amount of people that are leaving over the total. With like when people work 6 to 7 hours also being kind of abnormally high. So yeah, you can sort on this leftover total and see, alright, so those that are working 15 hours a week, everyone leaves. 14, a good amount. So those that are working 6 to 7 hours a day, they are probably part-time employees that are just not, let's see, we can see how it compares over here. Wow, and that's pretty high across all of the different places. So I imagine those are employees that are expecting to work less than that. Alright, and let's do one last table. So let's do a stacked bar chart. Right here. Alright. And we're going to look at how their last evaluation. No, I don't want to do that. Let's look at how the leftover total is impacted by whether, well, we'll separate it into two groups. Whether they have received a promotion in the last 5 years. So, alright, so obviously those who haven't have a much higher leftover total. Well, I guess it's the same number, but those that have received a promotion within the last 5 years have only like a 6% turnover attrition. And then let's see, what groups can we separate this in? Let's look at maybe time spent in the company. I don't know why it counts all the way up when there's nothing there. So, the more time they've spent at the company, the less likely they are to leave. Well, it looks like, sorry, that is a false assumption. That those that have been there a very short amount of time are more likely to stay, and then it grows, and then it goes back down. So, along with how many are receiving promotions, you're most likely to receive a promotion in your 3rd year, and then following that, it drops until, could you imagine working somewhere at 6 years and not receiving a promotion in the last 5? Yeah, that's not very fun. Okay, so one last thing I want to do, I like to give these colors because I think they look pretty that way. And so let's do a background. I'm going to turn that on. And then it's nice. It gives you this color theme. Super great. I like those to be blue. And then for the category labels, let's make those white. And voila, we have a lovely finished product.